Shocking new details about the Black Mass. A priest is shot outside of his rectory. ISIS threatens to behead a bishop. And are men dogs? Something a little bit lighter at the end, so make sure you stick around for that. Hey guys, I'm Father David Michael Moses. I'm a Catholic priest. If you enjoy this type of stuff, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. So first, just a couple of additional details that have come out about the satanic ritual, the Black Mass that we've been talking about that happened out in Kansas. So the heart of the story was kind of the ambiguity about whether or not the Satanists were using a consecrated host, like a host that they had stolen from a mass. You know, exorcists and ex-Satanists would all agree that the ideal thing is to have a consecrated host because part of the ritual seems to be some act of desecration, really, really horrible stuff. And the event organizer, Michael Stewart, had claimed both online and in phone calls that he had secured a consecrated host. But he went under oath and actually swore that the host wasn't consecrated, that he was going to do his kind of own consecration ritual. So he said that under oath that they hadn't stolen it. But I mean, do we really expect the Satanists to be telling the truth? I mean, I don't know what happened, but to expect the Satanists to be honest seems like a bit of a stretch. So the thing I found especially interesting is I just read that during the ritual at that Capitol in Kansas, he pulls out a large host and he said, it seems sarcastically, he said, "This was definitely not stolen from the Catholic Church. This is definitely not a consecrated host." And the people, the group of Satanists there, laughed. So it seems like he just, I mean, based on that, contextually, it seems like he just lied and that he did actually steal the host. The ritual itself, regardless, is just evil. I won't show you the video again because it's really, really terrible. But there is obviously an even deeper level of sadness if they actually are desecrating a host that was consecrated. And then some new details came out that based on what I read, the Satanist threw the host down and then he went to stomp on it, but the wind actually blew the host a little bit to the side, so he wasn't able to do that, praise God. And there was a man there who apparently had been waiting all night, been taking naps in intervals, had been kind of waiting for this moment, preparing himself. And when the Satanist threw it down, he actually jumped forward and actually consumed the host or consumed the pieces that he could get to, which is a really beautiful act of sacrifice. He ended up getting kicked by the man, my understanding was correctly, by the Satanist there, and actually sustained some injuries, but is okay now. And in that situation, consuming the host would be the right thing to do. Generally speaking, only the priest should self-communicate, give the Eucharist to himself. Usually people need to be receiving the host from someone else. But in that case, just for the security of the Eucharist, to make sure nobody pulled it from him, consuming it would be the right thing to do. One thing that people were saying in the comments that I thought was a great insight is they said, "Man, it seems like these Satanists believe more in the Eucharist than some Catholics do." And I think that's a great point, that these Satanists clearly see the consecrated host as having power. It has power. That they see it as something of value. And yeah, just to be honest, sometimes we do receive communion in a way that is kind of lackadaisical and it's kind of routine and it can look to other people like we're not taking it that seriously. And I think it's worth each of us searching our hearts, thinking about how do I receive communion? What is how I'm receiving communion saying to people watching about what I believe? Because my actions speak louder than my words. If I'm receiving the Eucharist really like this is the most important moment of my week, I'm receiving communion because I believe this is actually God, body, blood, soul, and divinity that I receive. Do my actions reflect that? Do I have a sense of reverence around that? So I think that's worth talking about, that even if some Catholics don't believe in the Eucharist, gosh, it sure seems like the Satanists do. And then, of course, a call just to continue to pray for the people involved in this kind of stuff who are just so lost, who have believed the lies of the enemy, and are on a very, very, very bad path. So praying for their conversion. What I thought was kind of interesting is, I'm not saying there's a correlation here, but there in Kansas, in the same state, a priest was just recently shot and killed outside of his rectory. I'm not saying it was connected with that. They don't know the motive, but it is kind of wild that something so horrific, like the killing of a priest, would happen in the same state that just a week or so before that the Satanists had gathered to perform a ritual. That the archbishop there in Kansas City, Joseph Nauman, said, "The senseless act of violence has left us grieving the loss of a beloved priest, leader, and friend." So certainly praying for the pros of his soul, giving thanks for the gift of his life and his service. I do feel like on a personal level, I feel like priests are pretty exposed. We're up in front of people. Often we're saying things that for the culture are often challenging and difficult and not popular. I would also say people know where to find us. I mean, it is easy to come find me. People come find me all the time, actually. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be saying this on YouTube, but just at the parish this week, and there were people from all over the state and the country who have been able to find out what parish I was at. And I love seeing those people, just to be clear. I love to see people who've seen the videos and are coming to say hi and to talk and take a picture or whatever. I really find that encouraging to know that the ministry is reaching out. But just that to say, if somebody has a problem with the priest, it's pretty easy to find them. It's pretty easy to see what masses they're going to be at. Pretty easy to see what confessions they're going to be, what time the confessions are, and where they're going to be in the confessional. I mean, people, call us for sick calls and for house blessings and all kinds of things. So as a priest, you do feel like you're pretty exposed, and if somebody has a problem with you, they can get to you. Also, like, our lives are very patterned. Like we are, certainly the ritual of the liturgy, yes, but often our days are rituals where we pray. Maybe you go to the gym, you go to the parish office. It'd be pretty easy to come find us, and so certainly sad for this priest, and good to be watching out for your priest. Making sure that he's staying safe. Kind of in that same vein, I thought it might be worth addressing something that was tangentially related. I saw a video on the Lila Rose podcast. Lila Rose, shout out to her. She is fantastic. This is an Orthodox priest talking about an Orthodox bishop. So they're not Catholic, but they do have the line of the apostles. So they are real priests. They have the real Eucharist, real bishops, that kind of stuff. And he said something I thought was really, really inspiring about a bishop who was in a territory that was being threatened by ISIS.
A Orthodox bishop in Syria right now who was recently threatened by the new government that he would be beheaded. Syrian Christians are being chased down by ISIS jihadists.
When the leader of ISIS was coming to take the seat of the former president in Damascus, in the capital, he passed first through Aleppo, which I was just telling you about, I was at in 2010. And he sent a note to the archbishop there, who is the successor of my friend. You know what he said? "I'll have your head." Our bishop responded back. I was so proud of him. He said, "Come and take it, but I'm not leaving my people."
No way.
Yeah, that was his message.
Love it. Well, the first part of that is the very sad reality in a lot of the world. What we're seeing, I mean, we covered a story a couple weeks ago of a bunch of Christians who were killed by ISIS. And this seems to be a persisting problem and is worth talking about. Scary, scary stuff. And we see a situation, example of it here. ISIS sends a message to that bishop there and says, "I'll have your head." Threatening, right? Threatening with violence, threatening with the kingdom of, I would say, of this world, that do what I say or I will take your life. And I love the bishop's response, which is, "Hey, if you want my head, come and take it, but I'm not going to leave my people." A beautiful, beautiful stand. Again, not a Catholic bishop, but I acknowledge a heroic act when I see it. Just love that stance, that I'm not a bishop because it's convenient for me. I'm not a follower of Christ because it works for me. I do this ministry because I care about God's people. And so you can come kill me if you want, but I'm going to continue the mission. Absolutely love that. Reminds me actually of today's saint. I was just reading this morning when I was praying a short story about him, Saint Henry Walpole. And I think it's relevant to this story because he was a young man in England in the time of persecution of Catholics, especially of Catholic priests. And he was there in the crowd, and he himself was sympathetic to Catholicism, but he didn't really have a strong faith himself, didn't really care that much, was pretty lukewarm. And he was there while they were drawn and quartering, they called it, torturing essentially, a priest. What they would do is kind of graphic, sorry, but they would string the priests up, and then they would cut them open and take out their organs while they were still alive. Just horribly painful. And the clear message to the crowd was, don't be Catholic and definitely don't be a priest. That was the point, that you need to be serving the government first. Anything else is going to cost you a lot of pain. And so Henry is there in the crowd as a young man, and the blood, as they tore open the man's body, some of the blood actually went on his suit. And that seemed to be an epiphany moment for him, that as he kind of received the blood on him, he felt this kind of call to do something. So he writes this poem for kind of in commemoration of the priest, St. Edmund, who had, Edmund Champion, I think is his name, St. Edmund Champion. He writes a poem for kind of in honor of that saint's death. And there, somebody publishes the poem, and the publisher of the poem actually gets captured, tortured. They actually cut off his ears. I mean, just the time was just brutal. They cut off his ears, and they're trying to get him to tell them who wrote the poem. And the publisher, to his credit, does not say it was Henry. So Henry continues to kind of feel this call, goes off, actually studies to be a priest for 5 years, becomes a Jesuit priest, comes back on a boat to come minister in England. And just as he steps foot off the boat, one of the Queen's spies has already discovered that he's a priest and captures him. So before he can even do really any ministry, gets captured and is held in prison for an extended period of time, is tortured like 14 different times, and eventually is killed in just an absolute brutal way. A great testament to martyrdom. And what I guess I love about his story especially is he sees the witness of St. Edmund, and then he becomes the witness himself to someone else. And I'm sure there was some young man in the crowd who saw his martyrdom, and that the cycle continued. Also kind of beautiful to note, like he spends all this time studying to be a priest and doesn't even really get to minister a whole lot, in terms of traditional priestly ministry, but he does minister in the highest way possible as a martyr. He gives his life. He unites himself with the high priestly work of Christ, which is the sacrifice of yourself for the other. So beautiful, his testimony, but also beautiful to hear from this bishop, come and take my head, but I will not leave my people. At the end of the day, like the devil is afraid of fidelity. He's afraid of faith in Christians. That's what he's scared of. And so to face evil directly and to say, I'm not afraid of you because you can destroy my body, but you can't take my soul. You can't take my mission. You can't take away my God, has to make just the devil tremble. So take heart. Also, reminder, all this is a reminder how easy most of us have it in the United States or wherever you are. For most of us, gosh, living our faith is so easy compared to what it is in other parts of the world or in other times in history. So be grateful and preach it. If you can preach the faith without getting killed, you absolutely should be. If you would preach it even if you were killed, how much more should we be preaching it now that no one's even trying to threaten us? And last, another video to kind of end on a couple light things, two funny things I wanted to show you guys here. First one's humorous, but I think has a really deep message behind it. This woman, she quotes how people sometimes say, well, men are dogs. And she has kind of an interesting take on it. So have a listen.
Some people are like, oh, men are dogs. And I was like, yes, they are. They're loyal. They're always happy to see you. They're looking for something to do for you. What could they bring you? they just want to be admired and appreciated. And yeah, if you treated them like dogs, everything would turn out much better. Much better.
I love that. Men are dogs. Yes, and everybody loves dogs. Everybody loves dogs. Dogs are the best. Dogs are man's best friend. Because a lot of the qualities dogs have, men actually, have as well. She mentioned, men want loyalty, right? They want to be loyal. They want to bring you something. They want to do something. Men want a mission. They want to offer themselves towards something bigger. At the end of the day, men want what everybody wants, which is love. They want to be loved. And especially maybe in a marriage dynamic, but in every situation, men want that love to be expressed through respect, through being appreciated. They want to know that what they're doing is valuable, that it means something to you. And you absolutely do see that if you have like a dog. My family had a golden retriever growing up. She wanted to know that she was doing something that you liked, right? She wanted to know that you appreciate it, whether it was bringing you something that she found in the yard. And I love some of the comments here. Somebody said, I'm assuming this is a man writing this, she literally called us dogs, and not one of us is offended by that. It's true. I'm not offended by that. When you frame it in that way, it's beautiful. And then somebody else, I'm assuming this is a man too, said, I want more belly rubs. Exactly. Last thing, this is just kind of something funny. I know it's been a kind of heavier topic with some of this stuff. I found this meme popped up. It has somebody talking to Jesus. Am I being tested again? Is this one of your hardest battles? And Jesus saying, you literally need to just put down your phone and go outside. Gotta love it. And man, that is actually so true. Like people get caught up, addicted to their phones and addicted to the dopamine harvesting and everything. And it's like, oh my gosh, everything's so bad in the world and it's so hard and I'm being tested. And Jesus like, can you just put your phone down and walk outside and get some sunshine? Go for a walk, get some exercise. So a good call, maybe a reminder for all of us. Hey, if you're having a tough time, maybe get off the social media. I'm a big fan of getting off social media. Close this YouTube video, get away from it, take a walk, get some sunshine, be grateful for what we have. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about some of these stories in the comments. Let me know some other stories you'd like to hear from. And we'll see you next time. God bless you guys.